Good evening, my friends. This is VJ Franz K, and I'm here to answer a question that many of you have perhaps had, and I have this question before me now, which is MC707 or Akai MPC Live 2? It's a very good question. These are both super high quality groove boxes with a lot of features, potentials for complicated audio recording as well as the standard drum machine type functions here. I thought I would compare and contrast the two of these because they are both such amazing machines, and it is a very hard decision for me. I have to decide on one of them. So the answer to this, your answer, is going to be based on what features do you want and how do you want them arranged. Basically, that is how I have come to my decision. But first off, we'll explain the most obvious, which is the MPC focuses on these large, amazing drum pads here. Let's see, we'll go to the menus are a little bit complicated for my taste here. Navigating between them is a bit more complicated than I expected. And there's also the difference between the MIDI and the audio tracks here. It's a distinction that the machine has to make, but it would be more natural if we didn't have to make a constant distinction between MIDI and audio tracks. We could just mix them all together. I really like the note repeat feature on here. Wait, I'm on the wrong track here. Let's see, we'll go back to track 1. So there it is, note repeat. For your trap, for your classic IDM sort of sounds, the snare rolls and all of these things. The note repeat, it's cool. And it's sort of annoying that there is not a dedicated controller or something to relate to the note repeat, because you want to change it. And yes, I know that it is mapped to the Q-Link here, the time division up here, but I would love a dedicated control for that note repeat, just because a lot of us use it constantly. So we are just it's an important part of that workflow. Anyway, on the Roland 707, the note repeat is added as a firmware update, and actually this one has not been firmware updated yet, so I'm not going to show that because it's not active in this unit yet, but I am hoping that they activate more complicated note repeat features over here. Now you can see I am by instinct controlling the tracks here with my sliders, volume sliders. It's just like working a multi-channel mixer that you might have at a live gig or something like that. In many ways, this is a drum machine, a drum pad machine, which became a studio. And in a similar way of speaking, this is like a mixer that became a studio or an instrument. It's the built-in paradigms. And yes, I'm aware that you can get a external fader module here for the Akai if you want. You can MIDI connect it. The MIDI ins and outs are very, very capable on this machine as well. But for my personal way of doing things, I really lean towards having the sliders as hardware devices here. And unfortunately on the MPC, let's see. So on the MPC I have this channel mixer here, but I don't have an up and down standard mixer like we're used to using on Ableton, or most DAWs have an up-down mixer like this on the screen, and they could make it. They totally could make it by changing the software, but it's not available. You have to select these channels one by one and then change this. And for it to be on the screen and for it not to be there all the time, that is frustrating for me. But if you are totally used to other MPCs, obviously, then this is definitely your choice, because it's the ultimate evolution of the portable MPC, so that's great. But in my music making experience, I unfortunately did not buy an MPC early on, even though I could have, but I didn't know about that method of beat making at that time. So I didn't get in on the early days of the MPCs. And instead I got in on the sort of step sequencer style, and my favorites are the Electribes. And let's hope Korg comes into the game with a new pro level Electribe or something for me to be able to play. And I would love to advise on that or other groove boxes. See, when you've played a bunch of different groove boxes, you begin to have favorite parts about each one of them. And you wish that you could combine certain things of one with certain things of the other. Like, I really like, I'm using these as monitors, even though I'm recording it into the camera directly. But these monitor speakers are a wonderful addition to this device. It really makes it a portable music studio, and that is really why I wanted to buy this one, because it's an amazing possibility to be able to take it anywhere, record or jam out, make beats anywhere. It's surprisingly heavy, but that is because it's built really solidly, and it has the extra weight of the speakers. It has an extra weight of a high capacity battery in there, which does last a pretty long time, especially if you're not using the speakers to waste your energy that way. But let's see, it has high quality audio inputs. It has phono inputs, so as in classic hip hop, if you're sampling directly from your turntable, it natively supports that, and I did some of that yesterday, and it sounded great. Let me see. I was thinking that I could sort of replace my music studio, a lot of my Ableton work with MPC and just sort of record it, but regrettably, you can't record a channel while you're doing other things on the other channels. Like, I would want to record someone else playing guitar or singing or rapping or whatever on one of the channels while I was playing the beats on the control panel. But you can't do that. And that is disappointing, because that is sort of our spontaneous way of doing things when I'm working with my band friends and all of that. I wonder if it is possible to do that via a software update, because that would be wonderful to be able to fully play your MPC pads, which, yes, they're legendary. Their quality is great on these things, and I've got to say, in terms of build quality, this is a really high quality unit. It's nicely put together. The knobs are good. These are a little plasticky, a little more than I expected, but they're still good. And the pads are wonderful. So it feels solid, like something that is going to last you for years. The 707 is a little bit more plasticky. It's more like, I hate to say it, feels like a toy by comparison. Though I'm not saying that, it is. It's just, it's a little bit, these buttons are pressure sensitive. Yes, I do. Oh yeah, that's right. My voice is going through. My wuss. Voice is going through. My voice is going through the 707 and then into the Akai and then into the camera. So that's cool. That's another reason why I have liked the 707 is that also like a mixer, you have the opportunity to mix in external audio channels. That's very easy to do, and you have your 4 inputs on the back there, 4 mono or 2 stereo pairs. So looking forward to doing that. Put my vocals over here probably. And you can do that on the MPC. You can have external audio going in because, as you can see, the entire 707 audio is going into the MPC. And I've got to say, the audio on the MPC sounds really, really clean. It's very high quality, and it's a tough judgment because they both sound great, but I think the MPC sounds clearer in terms of audio. Just, like this XY pad. I mean, over here you have the stutter. You've got the stutter. You've got here. Over here you have this XY pad, which you can do a lot of similar stuff with. Do the setup over here and different types of beats. Lots of cool stuff. Testing. 1, 2. Testing. 1, 2. Yeah, lots of possibilities here, but it's just harder to route the audio, I would say. I was playing with my friend, a guitarist, and I was making beats, and then he would record some guitar parts, and then I would make some more beats, or add synth parts, and we went back and forth. Of course, like I said before, we couldn't do that at the same time because you can't record 2 channels at once, and that's kind of a shame. But I don't think it was made with multiple users at the same time in mind. I mean, that's not. It's designed for one person or one producer, and maybe you get your vocalist friend come in and do their parts, and you record it like a producer, but you're not jamming over that at the same time that they are. A lot of good sound quality on both of these machines. It's wonderful. I enjoyed the plug-in instruments here, the Wurlitzer. The tube synth sounds terrific. Let's see. This is their Wurlitzer simulation, but I liked their electromechanical keyboard things. But the tube synth, it's modern EDM and hip hop sort of sounds, and that is. So here I have the synth bass sounds playing. See, I go back to my menu. I don't like all the menus, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's not spontaneous in the same way that the pads are spontaneous. You know what I mean? I'm very focused on sort of doing live performance electronic music, and know that things get a lot better as you practice and your hands learn the location. But it's like, depending on what mode you're in, the pads will turn on or off. So then you're not dealing with what you may think you are dealing with anymore. So here I am. I go over to the oscillator, and I can change, or I can adjust them directly on the screen like I was using Reason or something. So these are basically VST plug-in style instruments, except they are, I guess, dedicated or ported for this particular platform. And they sound really good. There's a lot of quality presets, and then you can just sort of adjust them in a way that you would prefer to have. And I was using the arpeggiator to just a lot of fun using the arpeggiator there. Let's go back to, see, this is still kind of what I'm missing. And I know people who are very familiar with the MPCs will be laughing at me because I'm not super familiar with organization here. So, but for me, having the sliders is just a good instant way that you can deal with changing the parts back and forth. And I've separated out my drums into a few different groups here. There's a really wide range of patches on the 707. It's pretty incredible, and you can adjust. You have this adjustability here. It's fascinating. When the final bell tolls, what is my decision? What am I going to choose between these two? It is a very tough choice, but I am going to have to go with the MC707. Just because it suits the way that I play, or the way I think of music better. So that's just because I like to use this. I like to have the step sequencer going at all times, and to be able to, and to tell you the truth, I wish this were as easy to use as an electric, because it isn't. It isn't as easy. And there are other issues with it, but I'm going to learn it. I'm going to tame it. I'll use it with my other machines, mixing them in or something like that. But yeah, this is going to be my choice for live performances now, along with other gear. And when it comes to recording, we'll see what gear I will use. I'll probably just go back to Ableton as I was using before. And yes, I have really liked learning about the MPC Live 2, and I've got to give it a strong recommendation too. And I say that be an informed consumer, read and watch all that you can about the machines before you buy them. Consider, if you can, go to a nice store that will let you play the synthesizers in a showroom or something like that. And of course, my old favorite is Noisebug. why isn't my mixer sounding? That is because the level here. And a lot of these criticisms that I have of the MPC could be addressed if they made some other options available on the software. And of course, I would not want to deprive anyone of the workflow that they like to use, because I've seen some amazing videos while I was, learning to use this. But at the same time, I'd love to have my channel view where everything is in the lines, the audio and MIDI tracks mixed together. And yes, I know the desktop has, when you connect this to the desktop, it has more of those options available for you. But there's no reason why they can't be here in a smaller format way of dealing with things. Both excellent sound design tools. You can use the inbuilt synths, you can record samples, and yes, the MPC does have the advantage in taking in the samples. It's sort of like a super sampler with all different ways of doing that. So a lot of times I will just load my samples. I'll make them on my desktop computer or something, or just do a lot of fine edits, and then I'll load them on an SD card or something. So I don't all the time end up sampling right on the machine, even though it was pretty cool with the Akai, and I know there's nice time stretching. Now it is possible on both of these guys, and I don't know. I mean, it's not really a direct competition. It is an apples to oranges sort of situation here, because MPC is more designed with hip hop in mind, and then 707 is more EDM styled. But as I'm always saying, if you are creative and intelligent, you can use any gear to make any style that you want. And sometimes you might get a special edge because you were using something that nobody else thought of using up to that point. Then you record a hit track or something like that, right? So always be creative and intelligent. Use your technology. Try to figure things out without the manual, but then go back and read the manual. Don't necessarily ask us obvious questions if you haven't read the manual yet. You know what I mean? The manual is there for a reason, and it has a lot of good answers. And actually, when you read a manual, you end up discovering answers to questions that you didn't know that you wanted to hear the answer for. So, that can be educational. Let's see, exit, tempo. Yeah, there is a lot of menu diving over here too, more than I would like. But the hardware design is good, and hopefully both of these can keep advancing in terms of firmware. And please listen to the users, the power users. Now it sounds more like hip-hop because we've lowered the tempo a bit. This is VJ Franz K signing out for now. Please subscribe. And please check out my other videos. Consider supporting me on Patreon, because I'm going to be expanding the channel a lot. in the coming months as is possible.